Newcastle United beat Spurs 4-0 at the weekend as we fight on to finish in those European spots at the end of this season. And it's reported that Newcastle have technically made their first signing of the summer window, so we'll talk about that. And already we are being heavily linked to free transfers to really, ideally, kick this summer off to a good start. On the flip side, another Newcastle player is out for the rest of the season, so we'll talk about that. Big up to the women's team who got promoted to the Championship after winning 10-0 at the weekend. And have we seen some previews of Newcastle's Adidas kit for next season? We'll talk about all of that in today's Toon Tuesdays. Hope you guys are doing good. This is the weekly roundup of Newcastle United news. Got an interesting background today. Wallpaper one side, not on the other. Some drawings on the wallpaper. Just moved house, so bear with me on the backgrounds for the moment. But this is the news that comes out every Tuesday. So if you guys aren't subscribed, be sure to go ahead and hit that big red button. It just means that you guys don't miss out on any future videos, and it helps me. Just around the corner from 50,000 subscribers, which is incredible. So if you do watch these videos, you've never bothered hitting the button because you haven't needed to, give it a click. It means you won't miss the next one, and it helps me out. And there's loads to get through in today's video. We'll quickly start off with the women's team. Big up to them. 10-0 win at the weekend. Champagne and celebrations all around from the players, and Amanda Staveley, who's obviously been a huge advocate to try and raise the profile and improve women's football at Newcastle United. You know, bearing in mind that Newcastle United women's weren't part of Newcastle United Football Club until the new ownership came in, and Amanda Staveley made it a big thing for her to connect. You know, good old reportedly, or rumoured, you know, that the women's team didn't even get the shirts from Newcastle. They had to buy them themselves. Or reportedly would model the shirts for discounts. So yeah, pretty dodgy stuff. So it's great to know that they're on track, they're promoted again. You know, I think honestly the sky's the limit, and it's great to see them celebrating over at Kingston Park. So big up to them. Same weekend that Newcastle United men's won 4-0 against Spurs. Fantastic win, puts us in pole position, 6th place. 6 games to go. You know what? Bring home that European football. Obviously there's injuries, there's plenty going on at the moment. Players coming back, players going. You know, concentrate on 2 big wins. West Ham was massive. They are the side that are, you know, a few points behind us right now. Had West Ham beat us, they would have jumped 7 points ahead. Beating them is huge. I think of the games we've got, you know what, we never do it easy. So it's not like, you know, we've played Luton twice this season. You know, neither of them went to plan. We've been Bournemouth twice this season. Neither really went to plan. You know, so you can't count your chickens before the hatch. But, you know, I thought Spurs was a big one. And the fact that we've gone and won that one is massive. Now we've got Manchester United. That's the next big one. They are sitting joint with us on points. So we've got a bit of a break till the next game. No game this weekend. It's the midweek and then the weekend. But a player who won't be involved is Joe Willock. Reports coming out that Joe Willock is injured till the end of the season. It's been a tough one for Willock this season. In and out of the team all the time. Players coming back and playing with an injury. I saw a really interesting article actually, which, you know, the Athletic put out there about our summer tour and how the players didn't get a proper chance to rest because they'd gone away and because they'd come back and then it was straight back in again. You know, like Anthony Gordon played a blinder with the under-21s, came back straight back in. He's obviously got that kind of, I guess, toughness to handle that much going on, and he's obviously a lot younger than some of the other players. It's interesting that we're going up to Australia at the end of this season. I think the fact that it is just a couple of games and isn't a full tour will hopefully mean that players can get a break, but then if you're an international player, you aren't getting that break because it's the Euros and then we're back in again, so there's loads going on there. I think for Willock to, as much as we need him right now, we need every player we can get hold of right now. Playing players on injury isn't healthy. It's not good. We've seen Miley had to drop out the side, probably getting overplayed, to be honest. Willock is now away till the end of the season, and you just got to hope he has a proper rest this summer and can be fighting fit from day one next summer and can make a real big impact. A player who looks like he will be staying and will hopefully be fit and ready to go at the start of next season is Lewis Hall. Reports are that obviously, and it's an interesting one with Lewis Hall, so if you want to give me your opinions down below, please feel free to do so. We were dying for a left back, but we couldn't afford a left back because of FFP, so what we did was we bought him on an obligation to buy, so we brought him in at the start of this season, but that the payment wouldn't actually go out until this summer. Well, it's understood that we've hit the criteria now. So, a big long list of tick boxes, plays this many games, plays this many minutes. The reports are that because Newcastle cannot finish any lower than 14th or 15th, that has now triggered the £28 million clause. So, he didn't come cheap for, a huge prospect. Chelsea fans aren't happy about it, even at 28 million. Chelsea fans are still commenting saying we're selling our best youth players. So that obviously gives him a great standing. The fact that we haven't played him all season, it's happened now. It's very, very much reported that it has. The club haven't said yet. It's very much reported that it has happened now. And if that's the case, he's in. Get him going, train him up, get him ready for next season. There was rumoured that Eddie Howe was purposely holding off playing him because he was wanting to try and save that money for somewhere else this summer window, and having not played him all season. What I will say is that when he came on, for example, in that West Ham game, looked really good. On the ball, carrying the ball forward, confident. If we can see more of that, I'll be pleased. When we played Everton, defensively, Everton were doing everything down that side. He had his hands full that night. But Eddie Howe had said publicly, that he wasn't ready defensively yet. And I think you could see that a little bit against Everton. So I don't think it's a case that Eddie Howe just doesn't fancy him and just hasn't played him. Haven't seen what he can do going forward against West Ham, and then maybe not quite as good defensively against Everton. Maybe it's just exactly that. Eddie Howe wants him to be 10 out of 10 before he gets a game. And it's taken way longer than really anybody hoped it would. And that's possibly why we haven't seen too much of him. But, yeah, reported 28 million is set to basically go through. And that's our left back that will hopefully play some football next season. But if we are looking to cut a bit of costs, the Telegraph and a few others are reporting that Newcastle are already scouting 2 free transfers. One of which has been mentioned a few times already. It is Lloyd Kelly from Bournemouth. Now, Eddie Howe actually brought him in for 13 million from Bristol City some time ago. So his contract's ending at Bournemouth this summer. Look, it's not just Newcastle. I think it's Spurs, Liverpool, AC Milan, Juventus. This lad, centre-back, left-sided centre-back, can play left-back. Look, he's on a free, and he's got Premier League experience. I think he looks like a very decent player. I think, let's be honest, Lascelles, ACL, Botman, ACL. We're struggling for left-backs at the minute, I think it makes sense that Newcastle will go out and target centre-backs. And we don't, ideally. The other one being linked is Tosin Adebayo. Fulham player, 26 years old. They've spent a little bit less, actually, 2 million. They bought him from Man City 4 or 5 years ago. He's on a free at the end of this window as well. But again, being linked with Liverpool, West Ham, Spurs. 2 centre-backs, Premier League experience for both. No transfer fee needed. In a Premier League where no one spent any money in the January window because nobody can because of FFP, I think teams will be on these two. I think some of these teams will probably bring them in as backup. We won't be initially, but when Botman starts to come back, and maybe we look for another centre back in a few years' time to really try and improve the first team, not just bringing in loads of cover. But I think that 2 frees, I'll take them both. And that would really help our window. 2 free transfer centre-backs, or at least one of them, and then straight away you've got money to spend in other positions. Right wing, for example. Or Could Yakuba Minter come straight into the fold? Well, interestingly enough, those are the two players that are linked in that article. Players linked out are Almiron, Dubravka, Longstaff, Wilson, Target. I think it's clear that Newcastle do need to try and have a bit of a shake-up this summer window. We thought we were going to have it last summer. It didn't really happen. Understandably, you don't just chuck a load of players out and then have no one to bring them back in. But when a lot of the squad hasn't played, really, we've had a lot of injuries, and had we not, I think the bench would have looked decent this season. Behind the bench, it wouldn't have. But you have to still have those squad players, and I think we were careful with what we did. We want to try and mix it up this season by letting a few of these guys go. It's just who can we bring back in, and the hope is that if we did, look, I don't really want to pick players out, but if we let a player go for 30 million in the world of FFP, that's 30 million times 5 over 5 years payment. That's technically 150 million we can go spend off of 30 million. Like when we sold Maxi for 30, went and spent 100 million. Getting a few deals out earlier. Callum Wilson, in hindsight, is a wonderful thing. Had we have just sold Callum Wilson in the January window for 10 million to Atletico Madrid, he hasn't seen a minute of football. He's been injured the whole time. I get it. We needed to not just have Isak, and to just have Isak was probably not the sensible choice. But if Wilson did go a few million, or even just letting him go to get him off the books for the wages, or do we just keep him as that third choice striker, because really we need another striker anyway. Another thing that it says in there is that we could look to sell Yakuba Minter. That's not going to go down well with the fans. Didn't go down well with me when I read it either. But technically speaking, we don't really know how good he will be in the transfer over to the Premier League, and haven't had like an absolute blinder of a season out on loan. His stock is going to be huge. Why don't we could sell him for 40, 50 million now? Probably after a 7 million investment, we could probably sell him for 30, 40 million as a young wonder kid. And then straight away, that 50 million times 5, 250 million to spend. Or do you take the risk on a youngster in the Premier League who doesn't quite cut it, and all of a sudden he's not worth what we could have sold him for? So, who would have thought that football would all come down to prices, transfers and maths? But it did say that we want to keep Bruno and Isak, so we'll let them off with that one. The new kit has got everybody excited. The new Adidas kit coming out. A few leaks online. The Gallagher shots have been posting a whole host of photos or predicted images. I think we all know it's going to be black and white for the home shirt. Shock horror. But the away shirt is being linked as that burgundy blue hooped shirt, 95 away shirt. It's happening. It's gonna happen. It has to. Adidas know it. The fans want it. They'll make an absolute bomb off it. It's coming. And the third kit, actually, this kind of like green and white seems to be, the way we're rocking these days. I quite like the idea of maybe having a different Newcastle badge on one of the kits, I'll have to be honest. Moving away from it entirely is not something keen. I love the lines on the sleeves of the shirts as well, by the way. Start of June is when it's thought that those Adidas kits will be released. Whether I'm saying that as if they're the real deal, we don't know yet. These are still images. We will have to see what happens next, but it is exciting and there's plenty going on. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this week's Toon Tuesdays. I'm trying to rattle through all that. There's loads going on. This video could have lasted half an hour, and I do love to talk, so I've tried to keep it swift. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you have, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. As I mentioned, hit the big red button. It just means you don't miss any future videos. Loads coming up, summer window. Hopefully loads of transfers to talk about, but we will see. And obviously I'll be back for the football when Newcastle return very, very soon as we go for those European spots. And maybe I'll have videos in Europe next season. That would be good, wouldn't it? Alright guys, thanks for watching as always. Drop a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you later.